I'd like to take a moment to talk about some things other than basic shapes. And basically, we're going to talk about the looks of these basic shapes. In order to do that, I need to talk to you about some basic ways to change color. Currently, on my screen, I have a swatches panel. Now, the swatches panel is a panel that allows you to choose colors that have been saved previously. I'm not going to go too far into depth in this particular panel because we're going to use it a lot later, especially in the second module. But for right now, it's worth mentioning that when you look over here and you scroll up and down in the swatches panel, you can see a number of saved colors. What I think would be fun to try right now is to select one of our shapes on screen, and then over in our tool panel, let's make sure that we have our fill color selected. Now come back over to the swatches panel and choose one of these colors on the swatches panel, like for instance cyan. When you select that, it switches the color of the current shape to cyan. If you tried this and nothing happened, make sure that you had fill selected. If you had stroke selected and you picked a color, you might not have noticed anything happen. And that's because when you're zoomed out enough, the fill can be really hard to see. So just make sure that you have the fill color selected at the moment, and then go ahead and try to set a couple of different colors onto the shapes of the F that you created. I want to talk about transparency for a second. Transparency is something a lot of people look for when they first start into InDesign, but they're probably not going to find it. And the reason they're not going to find it is because they're looking for the wrong word. In Adobe products, most of the time, you're not actually looking for transparency, you're looking for opacity. Opacity is the amount an object is able to be seen, basically the opposite of transparency. When I select one of my shapes, I want to show you something up top called the control panel. The control panel has lots of options for the current thing that is selected on screen. If I have nothing selected on screen, it doesn't show me very many options. But when I have something selected, all of a sudden a whole bunch of options show up. Let's select one of our shapes, and I want you to move over into the upper right corner of your screen, and notice that there's this little thing that looks like a little grid of gray boxes and a 100%. This 100% is your opacity. When your opacity is set to 100%, your shapes are fully opaque, meaning they can't be seen through. But if I click this arrow right here and drop it down a bit, now my shape is slightly transparent and I can see through it. And now when I move this shape onto other shapes, you can kind of see what's going on. Try it with a number of the shapes. Try setting all of their transparencies to slightly low, and notice how all of the colors interact now. You can even hit W again to turn on and off preview mode. Now, regular transparency isn't all that you can affect. You can actually affect a sort of faded transparency as well. And this is what's known as gradient feathering. If you select a shape on screen and then select your gradient feather tool, what you should be able to do is drag a line on that shape, and you'll notice that you can feather off the transparency of that shape. See how that works? You can actually draw the line anywhere you want to feather any way that you want, or basically ramp down the transparency along the line that you draw. Notice that this is separate from the full transparency of the shape. Try it out right now, and when you're ready, Click the button to continue.